Save the shark and ban the soup. Let's talk about it on Goldhawk Live. Toronto City Councillors are considering banning shark fin soup and any other shark fin products. Shark fin soup is considered a delicacy by many in the Chinese community, but a growing push for a ban in many parts of the world is being triggered by reports of the wholesale slaughter of sharks, forcing some of them to the point of extinction. Our question for you tonight: should Toronto ban shark fin soup? Give us a call right now at 416-446-7090. And my guest tonight in studio, Glenn DeBearmaker, is here, Toronto City Councillor for Ward 38, Scarborough Centre. Julie Anderson is here. She's the founder of Shark Savers and Shark Angels. And Sandy Ewan joins us. She's a specialist in Chinese culture who once banned shark fin soup from her wedding. Thank you all very much for coming in. Tell us about that, banning shark fin soup for your wedding. Was it offered by the caterer and you said no, no, no?
Well, essentially at our rehearsal banquet 4 years ago when I got married, it's very standard for weddings to have shark fin soup.
Right.
And so
considered quite the delicacy, right?
Absolutely,
yeah, right.
Absolutely. You know, it's a special time, and you have
celebrate
a special
with the special food.
Exactly. Yeah. So what we did was, after learning about the shark finning practices, watching Shark Water, and reading online, we were really disgusted with that, and we said we don't want it. My husband and I were like, we don't want it. So what we did was we told the restaurant, and they had it, as a standard item in the menu. And so we were, had some back and forth with our parents, and they said, you know what, you should have it. It's important. It's part of the tradition, the Chinese tradition. I said,
yeah,
well,
it's more than just a dish. It's a tradition, I guess, right? In celebratory events?
Well, I think times are changing, and it once was, but not necessarily
not with your
now.
wedding in any event.
Exactly. So
did you face great resistance to that?
You know what, to be honest, not a lot of people noticed. We substituted the item without a problem, and no one really noticed. The wedding went out, it was a beautiful wedding, and we had an amazing time. It's not about a bowl of soup. So
no, I guess
it's definitely not the emphasis.
No successful event necessarily hinges on one particular item of food, right? Had you ever had shark fin soup?
I've had, yeah. Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't know that
of course.
These practices were happening.
Is it great soup? I mean, what did you think?
It's mostly the stock. The fin itself tastes like nothing. Yeah. It's just there for texture. So, if it's not there, it's really not a big deal.
Okay, all right. Glenn, you've been fighting this for some time now.
Yes.
Talking about this. Do you think this ban will go through when it finally is considered by all of council?
Yes, I do. I'm 100% confident. The city of Mississauga has banned shark fin soup. They voted unanimously about a week ago. City of Brantford has done it. The state of California just 2 weeks ago. A state of 38 million people banned it. I think the City of Toronto, at our committee level, we voted unanimously 6 to nothing, to ban it, and it goes to council this Monday. So I hope people watching the show who support us will call their city councillor, call the mayor's office, ask them to support it. But yes, I think it's not a right-wing issue or a left-wing issue. No. This is about animal cruelty. It's about having sustainable fisheries. It's making sure that we in Toronto, the exciting thing is that people in the city of Toronto can help save a species from becoming extinct. So a lot of us will say, well, we live in Toronto. How can we help sharks? They're way out there in the oceans. We never even see them. The reality is, just like ivory, if there's no demand for the product, people won't slaughter the sharks. We don't sell ivory in the city of Toronto. It's illegal. You're not allowed to sell it. And what that means is elephants in Africa are safe because people aren't slaughtering elephants because they can't sell the ivory.
Well, in fact, elephants in Africa are not safe, but it's not because of what happens in Toronto. I think it's fair to say that.
Yes,
the
that's right.
elephants are not safe in the world
No,
today.
well, that's right. There's still poaching going on, but what I can guarantee you is if we hadn't banned ivory...
It's not a triggering event in Toronto that's causing that.
Right.
I understand
it's
what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a global solution that we want to be part of. To say, if around the world we stop eating shark fins and shark fin soup, there'll be less demand to slaughter the sharks in the ocean.
There can't be much of there can't be many people who would be against this. There's not a shark fin lobby of any kind, is there really?
Well, within the city of Toronto, yes. There are some restaurants that sell it, and a bowl of shark fin soup can cost $80 for a little bowl of soup.
Whoa.
So there's a very high profit margin. So there are some people who sell that as part of their menu that are absolutely, they're lobbying every step of the way. They're fighting us every step of the way.
Because of the tradition of what it is, I guess, right?
Well,
I mean,
no.
And the price?
No, it comes really just down to money. When you talk to, like I represent a very diverse area, a lot of Chinese folks in my area. They tell me over and over again, this is not part of Chinese culture or tradition. 90% of the people in China today don't eat shark fin soup. It's a coastal area that did practice eating shark fin soup, but 90% of those people even still didn't eat it because they couldn't afford it. So what used to be a status symbol used by very, very rich people, but now that all of us are becoming more affluent, the demand is skyrocketing and we're wiping out sharks. If we don't stop this slaughter, we won't have sharks
well,
in
and
20
as Sandy
years from
says,
now.
customs change.
Absolutely.
Habits change, and tastes change as well.
Absolutely.
You know?
Like culturally, I think things have evolved over time.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother had her feet bound, and my grandfather had 2 wives, but we don't do those things anymore, right? Culture evolves. It's human made. It's fluid. So.
Well, let's talk a bit now about sharks today, and the woman here who knows more about that than any of us, all of us put together, of course, is Julie Anderson, founder of Shark Savers and Shark Angels. Is that one title or 2 different groups?
2 different groups.
It's 2 different groups, okay. So what does Shark Savers do and what do Shark Angels do?
Shark Savers is an organization that focuses a lot on working with cultures to reduce demand and also establish shark sanctuaries around the world. Shark Angels is a lot more about a global movement to save sharks. So it's about using media and getting grassroots activities surrounding the state of sharks. So for the last 5 years, I've spent time in every single country.
Well, there you are right now.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, you know, it's a lot about trying to change people's impressions of sharks because, you know, love them or hate them, we need sharks on the planet. And
they get a
unfortunately,
bad rep, don't they?
They do. And a lot of
Ever
people
since
hate them.
Jaws.
Yeah, that's right. Well, even before, I think they've always had about. But they shouldn't. I'm thinking you're going to say, but they don't deserve a bad reputation.
Well, clearly, if sharks ate people, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Well, they do. They are involved in the taking of humans. I mean, that does happen.
It's very, very, very
rare,
infrequent. You know, I mean, you are a lot more at danger when you're driving down the road than you are when you're in the ocean.
As I told you earlier, I found the barracudas more threatening than the sharks when you're out swimming in the ocean.
Exactly.
A lot of things that can hurt you.
And unfortunately, I think sharks these days have a lot more to fear from us than we do from them, and that's what we're doing.
Now, the numbers are really going down, are they?
The numbers are absolutely plummeting. Up to 73 million sharks are killed a year, and populations are down up to 98% in certain places in the world.
And is that all for soup?
The majority of the reason why sharks are killed is for shark fin soup. Because of the value of a shark fin, it's driving an extinction trade.
Because, as Glenn was saying and others, it's very, very expensive when it gets right down on your serving table. And do you use just the dorsal fin or the other fins as well?
All of the fins of the shark are taken, from the dorsal fin to the tail fin or the caudal fin. You know, it really, at this point in time, we're seeing baby sharks being finned and even mantas being taken and substituted for shark fin. It's really, it's an industry that's just busting at this point in time.
So they net the shark, cut off the fins, and dump the body back into the ocean? Is that typical?
Net or catch it on a long line, which is more frequent. And oftentimes a shark is alive when it's pulled out of the water, and then it's finned while it's still alive and thrown back into the ocean to die.
And that's why, Dale, I would say if anyone just Googles shark finning or goes to...
I think people are aware of it.
Councillor Wong Tam and I created a website called Toronto Love Sharks. People go to that website and see it. They literally skin the animal alive. It's a cruel and inhumane practice. So they skin the animal alive. They dump it back into the ocean where it will drown, it will bleed to death, or it'll be eaten alive by other animals. Sharks can't swim without their fins.
Has it always been done that way, Julie?
Unfortunately, it has.
I guess it would have. That's been the traditional way of catching sharks and to use the fin for soup.
Exactly, and the fin is so much more valuable than shark meat. So these boats can go out and be out on the open ocean and fill their hulls with fins, right? Why would they want to take the shark meat
kill all the sharks, just...
Exactly, and that's what we're seeing right now, and that's really, you know, it's
Let me take a break here,
practice.
and we'll come back and talk more about these sharks and shark fin soup. Don't go away. Okay, we're back and we're talking about sharks, specifically the sharks that die for soup, essentially is what it's all about. The rest of the shark is sacrificed. Julie Anderson, is there any market for shark meat?
It's a very small market, and I've been traveling around the world for the last 5 years in the heart of the shark fin trade. And what we find is even in starving communities, the shark meat is wasted.
Yeah, so the market is
very low.
small.
There's an emerging market now that we have very little fish left in the sea, and places like Japan
People will turn to it maybe, right?
Exactly, but that is not the primary reason these sharks are caught.
But what is the value of the shark in the ocean? If some of these species go extinct, and some, the way I read it and hear about it, some are close to that. What are we really losing here? What's the ocean losing? I mean, we hate to see any species go extinct. There's no doubt about that. But what is it about the value of sharks? Talk about that a bit.
Sharks are apex predators, so they've basically formed the oceans for the last 4.5 million years. Losing the apex predator out of the food chain means that the rest of the food chain gets very interrupted. And at the end of the day, the oceans are responsible for more than half of the oxygen we breathe and millions and millions and millions of tons of fish as well. So to upset that balance really means that we're affecting the very things that we rely upon for survival.
So,
I think a comparison might be lions. If you look at Africa, lions on the savannah, people might say, well, I don't want to be sitting next to a lion because it might eat me. And I don't like the fact that lions go and take down gazelles and zebras and antelope and wildebeest, but lions are in Africa for a reason. They help control the population. So our food supply in the cities, we in the city of Toronto are dependent on the oceans to bring us our seafood. If you upset that balance of nature, it's going to make it harder for us to get a stable food supply. And that's the selfish interest, if you will, of why we should be protecting sharks and other creatures around the world. You need that balanced ecosystem. But I think a lot of us, and why this issue has been so strong, is because of the animal cruelty component and about the lack of sustainability. If you're going to fish, we fish all sorts of things from the ocean and we eat them. But if you're going to do it in a humane way, do it in a sustainable way. And shark finning is cruel and it is unsustainable. There's no way that we're going to have sharks here in 20 or 30 years.
Why has no one gotten to this earlier then? It's been going on for a gazillion years. Why now? Is it because the market is getting bigger?
The market is definitely growing, and it's continuing to rise.
Well, that would do it, wouldn't it?
And I think also, you know, a lot of people don't care about sharks. A lot of people really have grown up hating sharks.
They read some of the shark pulp fiction that has them as the bad guys of the ocean, when in fact that's not the case.
Like Jaws?
Well, exactly.
Well, and I think there's another thing that really changed what's happening around the world, and that's a documentary by a Toronto gentleman named Rob Stewart called Shark Water. And once he documented the slaughter that was happening, then all of us could see it. And it's like many things. You know, a lot of people, what is slavery? Well, it's an academic word. You might be for it or against it. But when you see it live, it shocks people, and people say this is unacceptable. So I think Rob Stewart's documentary...
We have some of that visual, and it's a bit, I mean, if you're a bit sensitive about this, maybe you should guide your eyes, but we're going to show you what really happens.
Exactly.
Let's have a look at some of that footage, Dave, and we can get Julie to describe exactly what's going on. Here we go. Okay. All right, talk us through this, Julie.
Right, so
they're pulling the sharks out live, of course.
Off of a long line, and then what they're going to do is heat up a blade, and then essentially cut all of the fins off of the shark, and then throw the shark back
in.
To sink and die a pretty painful and cruel death if you think about the fact, you know, these sharks are suffocating or being eaten alive or bleeding to death.
So a ship like that can go out and pick up, can kill a lot of sharks in an afternoon, I'm thinking, right?
They can decimate a local shark population very, very quickly. And ships like that are operating in every country that has a coastline. Regardless.
Except, well, haven't we banned it federally? You can't shark fin in Canadian waters? Well, I mean, for what that's worth. It's not much of the ocean, right?
And this is why the ban is moving into cities where we live and where we eat shark fin soup, because Canada, for example, for 2 decades, has outlawed shark finning in our Canadian waters. But you get boats that go just outside of our boundary.
Let me hear from Sandy here about this from the community's point of view. I understand the part about the tradition, even though traditions change. What kind of resistance would there be in the community if shark fin soup is banned in the city of Toronto? Are people, I'm assuming, even beyond this simply the price point, are going to be upset about this, are they not?
I think
Or not. Maybe they're not. I'm asking.
I think restaurants will be upset because they're trying to sell more product and make more money.
Sell the high-end stuff's better than...
Exactly. But I don't think the general population will be that upset. Like, it's tradition to some people, but not representative of the whole Chinese culture.
But Glenn, so you ban it in the city of Toronto, all I have to do is go to a 905 restaurant to get shark fin soup.
Yes. But most people, and that's why some restaurant people say, well, people will just drive to Mississauga or Markham and will lose business. And my response is no. When we had a no smoking ban put in place in the city of Toronto and other people didn't, all the restaurant owners said, we'll all go bankrupt because people drive to Markham or Mississauga. No, if you're at a university in Spadina, in downtown Toronto, in Chinatown, you go for a nice evening out with your friends on a Saturday night, you sit down and you've got 157 menu items to choose from, and they say, oh, sorry, we don't serve shark fin soup anymore. You're not going to get in your car and drive all the way up to Highway 7 in Markham.
No, but it might
an hour away
figure into
to have a
your
bowl
dining
of soup.
Planning at some point. All I'm saying is, when they say that, it could happen. All I'm saying is it speaks to the spotty nature of the bylaw. It's too bad we couldn't have an Ontario law about it or a federal law about it.
And the city
Isn't that where we need to go?
The City of Toronto voted unanimously, and so did Mississauga, so did Brantford, asking for federal action to do it across the country. And I think this will go across the country, like the pesticide bylaw.
I was going to say, pesticides, anti-smoking?
Started in cities first.
No smoking?
Smoking started in cities first. This movement is starting in cities first, and I'm confident you'll see it go provincial-wide and federal-wide. At the municipal level, we're getting people calling us every single week saying, I represent Hamilton or Pickering or Ajax, and I want to ban this as well because I cannot accept that this is happening in the oceans. So this is going to go viral across our country. We hope it goes around the world because, again, that's the only way we're going to save this species from extinction. Stop eating the fins.
Julie, are there any whole countries who have banned it in their territorial waters?
Saipan and Guam have both banned it, and Hawaii's banned it as well. It is a start, and like Glenn says, this is really, we want Toronto to take leadership and show the rest of the world that this is the way that we need to do things.
Are there shark-rich waters in particular, or are sharks pretty well predominant everywhere?
Certain
pretty well found everywhere.
They were pretty well found everywhere, but certain areas have been completely fished out. So the northeast coast of the U.S. is 98% down on large sharks. So we're facing a very, very bleak situation in most parts of the world. And, you know, it's up for grabs no matter whether it's a protected area for sharks. I mean, people are basically poaching sharks everywhere because of the value of the fin.
Has anybody noticed any changes in the audience in the ocean as a result of the downturn in the population of sharks, say, off the northeastern coast of the U.S.?
Absolutely. In Chesapeake Bay, the shellfish fisheries have completely collapsed, and they brought scientists in to study it, and what they found is that the shellfish were disappearing because the shovel-nosed ray population had spiked. And they couldn't figure out why the shovel-nosed ray population had spiked so significantly, and when they studied it, the sharks were gone.
The sharks, right?
The sharks were gone. So therefore, a multi-million-dollar fishery collapsed. And the same situation happened in Belize with coral. So the sharks were no longer eating the grouper. The grouper were no longer eating the parrotfish. The parrotfish were no longer cleaning the coral. The coral was covered with algae. And then you have a huge ecosystem that's now gone bust solely because sharks are gone.
Which is what happens when we screw around with nature.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Let's go to the phones to get some calls. Here's Jeff calling from East York. What do you think about this, Jeff?
Good evening, Dale.
Hi.
Well, I think that, to put it simply, I'm in agreement with the idea of the ban, and it's kind of a first for me because I've watched your show often and seen Councillor de Beermaker on, and this is the first time he and I have been of the same mind on something.
Oh, my goodness. I hope it doesn't hurt too badly.
but it does, and I want to congratulate him and Councillor Wong Tam for their initiatives because you know, I tend to be conservative in things and keeping government out of our lives, but I will never, ever sit by and tolerate the inhumane treatment of animals or neglect of them, of any species, for any reason. It should be completely unacceptable, and I would be proud to stand with him and anyone else to try and put a stop to it. So good for you. You know, this isn't about culture. We live in a great city where we've all heard many times, and it's true, that we benefit from all the... So I hope it doesn't turn into an issue of that. This is about, for me, simple decency, about, as Councillor de Beermaker said, we're going to use animals for food. The least we owe them is to treat them humanely while they're alive, and I just can't believe what's going on here.
And this is totally beyond politics, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah. Jeff, thank you
Thanks, Dale.
very much for agreeing, I guess,
Yeah,
for first time with
yeah, well, I hope there's a second time as
well.
well.
But I mean, that's a living example of the fact it is beyond politics.
It's not right-wing or left-wing.
There's no political take on this, right?
No, and our committee, we had the chair, Cesar Palacio, who's a Liberal, Gloria Lindsay-Luby, who's a Conservative, Anthony Peruzza, who's an NDP, myself, I would call myself Green Party. I mean, we had everybody there all supporting this for the right reasons, and I hope it's unanimous.
What are you swimming with there, Julie? What kind of shark
that's
is
a tiger shark.
Those are tiger sharks, right? Which sharks are threatened? More than others. I know they all are. I get that.
Yeah, they all are. Hammerhead species actually are heavily threatened because their fin is very high in needle count, which is desirable for shark fin soup. So they've
high
been
in needle count.
Yes. So essentially,
I don't know what that means.
The fin is boiled down, and what's left is it's a gelatinous. It's almost like a noodle or a needle.
It's a cartilage, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's not bone because sharks don't have bones.
Right. Yeah. And so unfortunately for hammerhead sharks, their fins are large, and they also have high needle count. So they've been hunted into pretty much extinction. They're 98% down, and unfortunately, they were not approved to go on to CITES this year as well. So kind of makes you question, you know, whether or not that's really the effective way.
So some restaurant or somebody could say, this is the best of the best. This is hammerhead shark fin. The best you can get,
you
right?
pay more for this.
Yeah, that would be a selling point, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Although now in Hong Kong, because there is no hammerhead left, they're now marketing tiger shark fins as the new, hot fin. So I'm sure that the next species to go is probably going to be the tiger shark.
So we do all this banning here. We do it maybe in Canada. We do it in other parts of the world. But there's still a thriving market in many, many countries in the world. How are we, what people concerned about this, ever going to turn that tide, if you'll pardon the expression? What do you think about that?
Well, you know, there was a study done in Hong Kong, and 1,000 people were surveyed, and 80% actually agreed that to take out shark fin would not be wouldn't
be a big deal.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a big deal. So, you know what? It's not representative of the Chinese culture, and things are changing.
Well, and as more young people in the culture grow up, they don't share some of those same traditions, as you say. You didn't share it yourself. So attitudes change, don't they?
That's right. And in China, there is a legislative push, just like they have city councilors, like we have city councilors, and they have national legislatures. So there is a large movement, including some very well-known people in China who are leading the charge in China, in Hong Kong, in Indonesia, to ban shark fin soup there, and I think you'll see this happen around the world. But Toronto alone, I mean, the important thing is if we can reduce the demand in Toronto, we have saved sharks.
How big is the demand in Toronto? I mean, knowing of our diverse community, knowing of the fact we have many people of Chinese origin living here or were born here and still follow the traditions, this must be a fairly big market.
It is a big market.
Soup,
if
right?
you go into some of the malls and to some of the stores, I mean, I'm shocked. As an environmentalist, I walk in, you see a whole store that has nothing but fins. So there's thousands.
Oh, really?
There's thousands
You can buy one and take it home then and make your own shark fin soup.
Yep.
Is that the idea?
Yep. And so you go into a store, you know that there are thousands of dead sharks in that one little store alone, and it's a little teeny stall. Thousands of dead sharks, or sharks have been killed to get those fins, and that's all over. But there are no hard numbers because it's not regulated in any way. You can't challenge it in any way. All we do know that City of Toronto is the largest city in Canada. We have the most diverse population, likely the largest Chinese population, Chinese-Canadian population in Canada. So we know the impact in Toronto alone is going to be very large. When you join us with Mississauga and Pickering and hopefully places like Markham and Richmond Hill and Newport Market, as we spread out, the demand goes down and down and down, and that means sharks live a little bit longer.
Well, that's right. Do you dry the fin out before you sell it in the marketplace? Is that what happens, Julie?
Exactly. The fin is dried, and the fact of the matter is it requires no refrigeration, nothing at sea. So even little canoes can go out and fish sharks. So there's really no infrastructure that's required, and that's why we're seeing such massive slaughter all over the oceans.
It's too bloody easy to get it to market, isn't it?
It's too bloody easy. It doesn't need to be refrigerated, can just be sliced off and dried in the sun.
And you can sell it for the big buck, as it were.
And you can sell it for the big bucks. And I've been in warehouses in Hong Kong that are just completely overrun, not just with shark fin, but awful with cockroaches. And it's an absolutely disgusting practice. And I think, oh my gosh, this is going to be in front of somebody for $100 later tonight.
Yeah. Boy, that's the way to really get everybody's mouth watering about shark fin
Right?
soup.
And I think some of those warehouses you'd say are probably 10,000 dead sharks, the equivalent of 10,000 dead sharks in one warehouse.
Well, that proves to me there's this huge market then, right? Everywhere in many parts of the world.
But I also want to point out that there's a lot of imitation stuff coming out now as well.
Imitation shark fin?
There's imitation shark fin. You can use bean curd. You can use vermicelli noodles. Like, there's lots of options because it really is just
I wouldn't
texture.
know the difference. You could put it in front of me and I wouldn't know the difference.
You wouldn't know.
Put a
I
few
wouldn't even know.
Herbs and spices in it. You could probably fool me. I wouldn't eat it, but you might be able to fool me.
It's like Colonel Sanders. The secret is in the spices.
secret herbs and
That's
spices.
right. The secret is in the stock of the spices.
Okay.
It's not the shark fin.
All right.
It's not.
We're
going to
take a break here. We'll come back with some more of your calls and some more thoughts on shark fin soup. We're talking about sharks. Don't be afraid of sharks, says Julie Anderson. Well, I mean, you got to be wary. They're big animals, and they do like to eat things. In fact, they eat a lot. But we get way, way, way over-exercised about sharks, don't we, in terms of our fear of them?
We do,
Julie?
absolutely. We're fed to believe that sharks are...
If you'll pardon the expression, yeah, that's a bad thing to say. We're fed to believe?
From the media. We're fed to believe...
Yeah, I know, it's our fault again.
Yes,
I
it is the media's fault. We dip a toe in the ocean and we think a shark is going to attack us. But the fact of the matter is, you know, more people die from dog bites and lightning every year than shark bites.
Yeah. Okay, let's hear from Fran calling from Toronto. Fran, what are your thoughts on shark fin soup?
Oh, I agree. We should ban it. Toronto, Canada, everywhere. I just want to take the time to say thank you to your guest for bringing this issue to many viewers' attention. It's very important. And what would they like us to do? What can we do to help? How can we educate other people? What would they like us to do? Because I am so happy that you're having this topic, because when the sharks are gone, what's going to be the next little creature? You know, what's going to be the next one we're going to see?
Fran, too many things have already gone, haven't they?
Yes, they have. And, you know, these restaurants, if they're worried about losing customers because they can't sell shark soup, I think they should be worried about losing a lot more customers who would boycott the restaurants for selling that
on the other side
product.
of the issue, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Fran, thank you very much for your call. What can people such as Fran, what can they do? How can they help in the fight?
Well, I think in the City of Toronto, and this is why I have to say I'm excited as somebody who wants to be part of a solution. By banning shark fin soup in the City of Toronto, we're going to help the rest of the world and sharks all around the world who don't even know that we exist. So whichever municipality you're in, I don't know where Fran lives, but if she lives in Toronto, we're voting on Monday. This coming Monday, the City of Toronto is going to vote on this. So call our mayor, call the local councillor, say, I just want you to know that I support the motion that was passed at the licensing committee. It was unanimous. I hope you follow Hazel McCallion's lead and ban this in Toronto.
Was it unanimous there too? I believe
unanimous
it was.
in Mississauga as well. So if it's good enough for Hazel McCallion, it should be good enough for the City of Toronto. Please support the ban. I think that people should say when they go down to sit down at restaurants that we don't want this anymore. And I think just educate yourself. I hope they spend a couple hours on the internet going to Shark Angels, going to Shark Water, going to Fin Free Toronto to educate themselves about what they can do. And I have to tell you, I'm a city politician now. I'm a politician. We actually do listen to you. We actually do read your emails. So I encourage everyone who's listening today, call your local city councillor, call your MP federally, and call your provincial representative. I don't care what party they belong to, and say, please ban this from our country.
Have you heard from comments from other councillors who are already on side? I mean, you seem fairly confident that...
I'm hoping this vote will be unanimous at City Council.
Has
Our
the mayor himself said anything about shark fin soup?
I haven't had a chance to talk to Mayor myself. The chair, Councillor Palacio, said that he had been talking with the mayor and the mayor was going to support the decision. But as you know, in politics, nothing's over till it's over. So it's important
and even
that
then it may not be over.
That's right. And the mayor and other city councillors need to hear that support, to say, I support you. That's a very, very effective way for us to do it.
Okay, so then you do that, and that means then you send out the inspectors, right?
Yes, just like...
And what are you exactly banning? Let's go through what would be in the bylaw, okay?
The bylaw would ban the sale, the consumption, or the possession of shark fins.
So I could be busted for being in possession of a shark fin.
Yes, and the fines start at $5,000 and go up...
trafficking, perhaps.
Yep, the fines start at $5,000, would go up to $100,000. That's very unusual. And we start with education. So what we send inspectors into restaurants all the time. They check for mouse droppings and cockroaches. They check to make sure there's no illegal cigarettes being sold for any contraband liquor.
So you would add shark fins
They're just a little
to the
ticky
list,
mark
right?
on the list. Say, yeah, are there any shark fins?
And, well, what about a regular retail outlet where they're hanging up on the ceiling? Can you go in? Can the inspectors go in there too and say you can't sell these things?
Yes, and we've given a 12-month transition. So some of the business community would say, well, we've got this inventory, we've spent money, you're going to bankrupt us. And we go, well, we don't think we're going to bankrupt you, but tell you what, you've got 12 months from when we passed this bylaw to September of 2012 to get rid of all your inventory. So I don't think it's going to affect people whatsoever, because most people don't have 12 months inventory. They might have a month, maybe 2 weeks inventory at the back of the restaurant. So
but it keeps that long, does it, Julie?
It keeps for quite some time, unfortunately.
So you can have the
so
stuff
very easy to enforce, and it's education. When an inspector walks into a restaurant and they say bowl of shark fin soup $80, you already know they're selling it. So they'll walk up to the restaurant owner and say, sorry, you're not allowed to sell this product. Oh, and are those bootleg cigarettes there that you're selling? You can't sell those because they're illegal. So it's a very simple practice. We want to educate people. We're not trying to be mean to people. What we want to do.
But if you're going to go to the trouble of passing a bylaw, you also want to see it get enforced.
That's right, and that's why we want it to be fair. Because if one restaurant does the right thing and stops selling shark fin soup, you don't want them to lose business to a guy across the street who is illegal selling shark fin soup. So we will enforce, and it's very easy to enforce. Just like our no smoking bylaw, 95% of us obey the law. We're good citizens. So when we ban this, we expect there's going to be compliance. We expect it's going to be very easy. And if there's one or two bandits out there who try to do something under the table, they'll get caught.
Do you kind of enhance the market in some cases, in some circles, for shark fin soup by banning it? I mean, is there an unintended consequence here? Do you think, Sandy?
I don't think so. I think,
say, oh, we got some of the illegal shark fin soup,
No. I think once people understand what happens to these sharks, they're going to be disgusted. They're going to be like, I don't want to have anything to do with that.
No, I think that's what you're all saying, right?
I think they need to see the footage themselves and realize that it's a practice that has to stop, and we can do something about it.
Have you ever tried shark fin soup yourself?
I've never tried shark fin soup. I've tried the substitute shark fin soup. So I have no idea how it compares.
You don't know.
I just wanted to, exactly. I was served it once.
Have you, Glenn?
No. No, and I'm vegetarian, so I wouldn't normally eat sharks anyway. But I have to say the people I've talked to that have eaten shark fin soup saying, Glenn, it is bland, it has no taste.
So in other words, we're not really giving up a lot.
It's not delicious.
Sandy, you said that at the very beginning.
Absolutely.
You didn't think
it doesn't taste like anything. It's texture,
no big deal,
it's clear.
Right?
Like, I don't even know what the point of it is. It's a lot of fuss over nothing.
What was it, macaroni substitute or something you were talking about?
Yeah, vermicelli, you could put bean curd, you can put whatever.
Faux shark fin soup.
Yep. You can put in mushrooms. They have a lot of substitutes. As a vegetarian, I know you put in some tofu, you put in some bean curd, you put in some mushrooms, and nobody will ever know the difference.
You have no idea what it is.
Yeah. But like with Sandy, people went to her wedding to celebrate her and her husband falling in love, families coming together.
Hey, you're going to Sandy's wedding? Yeah, they're serving shark fin soup.
Yeah. That's not why they're coming. They're there just to be there and witness our love, and that's what the wedding's all about. Not about a bowl of soup.
Yeah, exactly. Here's Hassan calling from Toronto. Hassan, what is your point of view on this issue?
Well, my point of view, Mr. Goldhawk, is believe me, I've seen the practice is totally horrible. Okay.
Yeah.
Particularly from where I come from, Somalia, it has contributed to a lot of garbage. Okay, the piracy started with this nonsense. Okay, a lot of people. You should see the carcasses of these animals. It'll make your blood boil. Okay.
You mean the shark after the fins have been cut off?
The fins are cut off, and then all of a sudden you see carcasses all over the place. Okay. I don't know what's wrong with this part of the world, particularly this East Asian. Okay, I don't know. It started with rhino horns, shark fins,
elephant tusks.
Somalia,
elephant tusks.
What's wrong with these people? Okay.
Yeah.
It's $100.
Yeah, I know.
For such an animal has been there for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Please.
Hassan, thank you very much for your thoughts. It's such a great. It shows such a great disrespect, doesn't it, for things that occur in nature?
And certainly, I'd like to say I agree with Hassan's concerns, but what I'm very proud of is the restaurant owners would say, well, this is part of a tradition and a culture and you can't change it. When you actually talk to and do surveys, for example, on mainland China, 80% of Chinese university students have never eaten shark fin soup and don't want it. So I would say the mass of the community, wherever you're from in this world, don't support this. What happens?
Well, it must be the older people who are, because they're being sold. Obviously, we have warehouses.
Well, there's a bit, I think, of lack of knowledge. In some parts, they'll call it not shark fin soup. They'll call it
fish wing.
Fish wing soup.
Fish wing.
So people don't even know what it is, and you can't blame one of the four of us for sitting down having a bowl of soup because you don't know that that little bowl of soup. It's a little bowl of soup for $80 is causing the extinction of sharks. All you're doing is having a bowl of soup. So I don't want to blame just people having a bowl of soup. They don't know. It's our job as people who do know, who are aware.
Told, I mean, I think attitudes would change,
exactly.
right?
That's right. And that's why I still think we need legislation, because we tell people not to smoke because it's not good for them. They still smoke. We tell people don't speed 100 kilometers an hour in front of a school where there's little children. Some people still do. So there's a role for government, there's a role for legislation, but there's a role for education. So like Sandy, when she found out about it, she said, we don't want this. And my guess is from Sandy's wedding, and you can tell us, her friends, her family, other people who know just say, you know, we don't want it either. But we don't have the time to educate people for 20 or 30 years because there'll be no sharks left. That's why we need legislation now.
Talk about the timeline here. If the market is not curbed, what's going to happen, Julie?
From my perspective, we're going to see certain very charismatic shark species disappear during all of our lifetime.
Well, you already say the hammerheads are very scarce.
Very scarce. I mean, I've literally watched sharks disappear for the last 15 years, and it's getting more and more scarce, and it's very frightening to see. And see the effects on the oceans as well. And I think the caller pointed out something very interesting too. When you buy shark fin, you're supporting the extinction trade and the illegal wildlife trade. It's rhino horn, it's elephant, ivory. It doesn't matter what it is. These mafia folks are trading in all of these things. So when you buy shark fin here, you're supporting an illegal and often very violent industry.
So you're thinking organized crime is involved in
100% organized crime is involved.
Simply because of the high return, I guess.
100%.
And because it's
minimal
illegal.
amount of work, you slice off all the fins, let the poor shark die, sell it for a big dollar.
In many, many countries, shark finning is illegal. But they do it anyway. Why do we have so many shark fins in the city of Toronto? You can't shark them, you can't fish them in our oceans, but people they do it illegally and then they import them here in a box. And when you open the box, you can't tell what is legal or illegal. All you know is there's lots of shark fins here.
You were reacting when Hassan talked about Somalia. Is it particularly bad for
It is. Unfortunately, whenever you have a situation where there's political unrest, that's when all of the wildlife species,
government in the country,
exactly.
let alone political,
Unfortunately, Africa is really up for grabs in general, but from a marine species perspective, we're seeing them disappear very quickly.
Okay. Here's Christopher calling from Toronto. Christopher, what do you think?
Yes, I think that they should ban the soup because the soup it's just soup compared to the extinction of the shark species. The shark species should always have the overhand because it's an animal. If we were running low on beef, we wouldn't kill all the cows. We'd start breeding more of them. Why don't they just do that with the soup? After all, it's just soup. Why don't you just try a salad for a while?
Thanks, Christopher. Yeah, it's just soup. And a small amount at that, right?
It's a very small amount. And it's important to mention, we are not banning soup.
Yeah,
so
you can still have soup,
there are dozens of types of wonderful soup. There's just one.
You can go to a Japanese and have miso soup. I mean, there's all kinds of soups you can have, right? That are just as good, not made with any particular parts of the shark.
And there's so many other items on the menu. Like, you know, if restaurants say that they're going to go out of business, like, that's not true. There's so many other delicious items on the menu.
Yeah, but people always resist, always try to defend the status quo. No, it's the way we've done it. We don't really want to change. We don't want to do this. You know how competitive the restaurant industry is anywhere. And if there's any way another restaurant in another municipality can gain even a small edge in competition, restaurateurs, they get very worried about it. They're only trying to stay open, right?
Yes. But I think all of us, just like the no smoking bylaw, people are worried, and that's why I'm really excited that Mississauga went before the City of Toronto.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Pickering, and we're going to have municipalities across the GTA all doing it together to keep that level playing field. But you know, if you have a good restaurant and you serve good food, people aren't going to go across the street or up.
Not just for that.
Not just for a bowl of soup, no.
All right, okay. If the finning stops, the population will come back, right?
Slowly.
Is it? Yeah, that's my question. I mean, does it come back rapidly, or is it more like the cod of in the North Atlantic? Came back so slowly as not to be noticeable, really.
Unfortunately, sharks aren't like other bony fish where they reproduce quickly and they reproduce frequently. So it takes a shark a very long time to get to reproduction age. And when they do have offspring, it's 1 or 2 over the course of a year, not necessarily the way, for instance, tuna would breed.
Not a whole mass of eggs or
exactly.
something like that.
But what we are seeing is in sanctuaries and areas where they are allowed to really kind of invigorate the population, we are seeing populations come back. And I think nature has a way of repairing herself once we stop the strain on the oceans.
But that's the trick, to stop it.
And that's why this is
Well, you have to stop it cold, even if you curbed it a bit, even if you slowed it down. You'd give the sharks a much better break, wouldn't you?
We need to slow it down, but unfortunately, because there's so much greed involved and this is a world issue, it's very difficult to regulate the ocean. So at this point in time, we feel like the fastest way we can have an impact for these plummeting shark species is to ban consumption around the world.
So when this, if and when this passes, and it certainly looks like it's going to pass in the City of Toronto, how are you going to run that passage up the flagpole and perhaps try to get the federal government to pay attention to what you're doing, or at least in the interim, the provincial government?
Well, I think that depends partly on politicians like us saying, please, federal and provincial governments do it, but it really comes back to the residents and the citizens. I think it was Fran who called and said, what can we do? People really have to pick up the phone and call their city councillors. We all get those annoying newsletters that we all send out, and it says, please call me, email me, write me, love me. You've got to say, okay, you asked.
Sounds kind of desperate, Glenn. I don't know.
I get so many of them. And so it's fair for us to pick up their newsletter, call the phone number they gave us and say, hi, Mr. MP or Mrs. MPP, this is what I'd like you to do, and tell me what you're going to do. And if we can get enough good people in Toronto and enough good people in Calgary and Vancouver doing it, we'll have a national ban.
But that doesn't let you guys off the hook. It doesn't mean you can't be saying, hello, federal government,
absolutely.
Listen. Right?
Yes. Absolutely, and certainly I'll be doing it as an individual. Councillor Wong Tam, who seconded the motion, we're sort of co-authors of the motion. Councillor Wong Tam and I will be doing that. We'll be going to Queen's Park, we'll be visiting Ottawa, we'll be doing all those things. But I got to tell you, the other politicians won't listen to us if they don't think we have popular support.
If you don't have some backing.
Hassan, I think Hassan who called in, if Hassan calls his MPP and his MP, that will get just as much attention as if I call. And in fact, maybe more, because they know he'll probably vote for them and I don't, because I'm from Scarborough Centre. So it's really important for citizens out there to
but we still have
their
this
power.
funny ideas that different levels of government should be working together on some of these things. So that's why we want to see you guys do that.
Yes,
even as mere mortals do it, right?
That's right. And the federal government, to their credit, has already banned shark finning in the ocean. Unfortunately, it's not enforceable, because you got thousands of kilometers of ocean. You have a little teeny ship, a speck of dust in the ocean, wiping out the sharks and then importing them into the city of Toronto or Montreal or Calgary. So we need to do the ban. So we are complimenting the federal government and trying to support the spirit and the intent of their legislation.
Sandy, I would think if members of the Chinese community also were to make it known to politicians at different levels of government that they find this whole thing distasteful, that would be, I would think, count for a lot.
Absolutely. I think leading up to the meeting last week, I've been talking to people in my Chinese church, talking to my friends, my coworkers, and there's a lot of people getting married, and so I think just talking about it and oh, have you heard of the ban, and just raising awareness, you get the conversations going, you get hopefully the demand decreasing, but it's all about starting the dialogue.
Well, it doesn't hurt sometime during the wedding reception and the meal to say, oh, by the way, we're not serving shark fin soup, and here's why.
Absolutely. Actually, a friend of mine from the church actually said that they've declined a wedding invitation because they're planning on serving shark fin. So,
oh, really?
And another photographer friend said that they're not doing any, weddings if they're serving shark fin. So people are taking a stance in the Chinese community, and the more the better.
This is quite a turnaround then, isn't it? that brings a smile to your face, Julianne.
It does bring a smile to my face. And that's, you know, at the end of the day, it's not a cultural issue, it's a world issue. And we need to be stewards of our oceans for our future generations.
Yeah, for sure. What other species are at risk? I mean, when we solve the shark problem, then what do we have to worry about? So many other things,
So
right?
many other things. Unfortunately,
dolphins, for example.
The shark problem leads to issues where fishermen who were used to getting the income, and mind you, fishermen who are actually fishing sharks are not getting the money. The people who are making the big money is the organized crime and the traders that are actually taking the big bucks from shark fin.
But the fisher person still has a relative easy time of it. They lop off the fins, bring the fins back, even if they don't get the really top dollar.
Well, they're getting paid pennies on the dollar, so they're getting taken advantage of in this process too. And they destroy shark populations. I've been in a town in Indonesia that was catching huge sharks 2 years ago, and now there's no sharks left. And now they're landing dolphins, they're landing manta rays, they're landing turtles. They're taking everything they can out of the oceans because what can they do? They've got nothing left. And unfortunately, their ecosystems are plummeting.
So solving the shark problem doesn't solve that kind of problem, does it?
Well,
I'm not saying go easy on it, but I'm just saying it leads to a lot of other complicated and convoluted situations.
Exactly. Well, the shark problem leads to that issue, unfortunately, because what they've done is they've destroyed a complete ecosystem.
And it leads to a very profound question for we as a community of humans living on this planet.
Well, we're the consumers, essentially.
We will make the decision of what species survives and what goes extinct. And if we just ignore the oceans, which we've been doing in the past, in Canada we have a horrible history with the cod industry. We wiped it out. We laid, you know, all those people don't have jobs in the East Coast now because of our own stupidity and our own greed. We have to learn that, you know what, we can fish the oceans for the next 200 years if we do it sustainably. So whether it's sharks or cod or tuna or swordfish or turtles or dolphins, we have to come up with a plan to say, how will we make sure that all of these species are healthy and survive in our own self-interest, as well as having respect for those species. We haven't done that yet, but we should.
Yeah, I think it means, Julie, when we go to the St. Lawrence fish markets, you know, down in that wonderful place to buy stuff from around the world, we have to be really fairly cognizant about what it is we're buying, right?
We have to be informed consumers, and we have to understand how seafood was caught, because a lot of sharks are also caught through bycatch too. So becoming informed, getting Sea Choice cards, and really understanding what you're buying and asking questions too is very important.
Yeah. Here's Robert on the line from Toronto. Robert, what would you like to add to our conversation?
I was just channel surfing. I came across your program here.
Yeah.
I just want to know the shark fin, like the super trawlers, they waste so much shark, as well as they trawl up the seals, the crabs, the sharks, and they waste about 75 million pounds of that stuff, and just cut them up and throw them back in the water, just as these shark fin fishermen who make their living off of this, right?
That's right.
So I think it's basically, if you ban it, it's still going to be extinct, because you have to ban the trawlers too, which fish for all the fillets for McDonald's and all that other fast food industries. They're going to chop up all the sharks and the seals and the crabs, and they also disturb the sediments, which also kill off the plankton.
All right.
And the plankton is basically where we get most of our oxygen now, the scientists are saying, not the rainforest.
Well,
you know?
and plankton is absolutely vital for all kinds of very large creatures in the oceans as well. Robert, thanks very much for bringing that up. So we ban finning. Sharks won't be taken very frequently in nets or when you're fishing for other species. I mean, I know it does happen because I've been on fishing trawlers where sharks have been taken by accident. They get thrown back. It was my experience anyway.
Exactly, and
but it's not a big deal. That's not where the sharks are being caught.
Unfortunately, there is an issue with bycatch, but more sharks are currently targeted specifically for their fin. I've been in a market where 7,000 sharks were landed in one day, and it was a tuna market. 4 tuna were landed on that day. So those sharks were intentionally targeted as well. So to say that if we don't eliminate bycatch, that we're still going to have the same problem, it's not entirely accurate, because sharks are being targeted specifically for their fins.
So we've got to cut off the market at the marketplace where the fin soup goes in a bowl. Simple as that, right?
And we have to realize, you know, just like our own lives, there isn't one magic solution to make your life or my life perfect. There's a lot of things to do to lead a healthy, balanced life. In terms of our fisheries, there isn't just banning shark finning and everything's going to be okay. There are a lot of things that we have to do. The urgency right now is that we are wiping out, and again, many species so quickly, they may not survive for another 20 years. But as the top predator, as the apex predator, the sharks are going fastest, they're the easiest to catch, they're the most valuable to catch. That's why we have to take emergency actions now to save that species. And then as a community say, how can we make sure that there are sharks and dolphins and stingrays for our great-great-grandchildren? That's the question we have to ask, and that's what responsible people do. Unfortunately, this industry is driven by greed. How much money can I make today? And if I kill the last shark in this bay, I'll make the most money. And we, the other people in this world who aren't as greedy as that, have to say, you know what, no, we want the sharks to survive because they play a role in the ecosystem, and we want our kids and our grandkids.
But it's up to us as consumers then to kill the market.
Yes.
We don't buy it, it doesn't happen. Nobody's going to catch a shark if they can't sell a fin. We're taking a break. We're coming right back for a few final thoughts. Now, you may have noticed in the papers a few days ago, there was a picture of this cute little girl in the shark suit. Have you got that picture, Dave? And that happens to be, Sandy, that's your daughter.
Yes, that is my daughter. Jason and I are very proud of her. She's 14 months and she was a trooper. You know, the reason why we're doing this together as a family, we just really want to have a sustainable future.
You'll show her that when she's grown up and show it. First she'll be embarrassed and then she'll want to know all about the issue, won't she?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not just for her generation, but all the future generations. Yeah. And it's going to be such a shame if there isn't any sharks around. And
Julie, wouldn't it be nice if someday this battle were won to the point where you can move on to some other species?
I would love to put myself
you like
out of
sharks.
business.
You like being around sharks, right?
I like being around sharks.
You're an admirer of sharks, and I think that's okay.
Exactly. I adore sharks, and that's why we're taking the fin-free campaign on the road, and we hope to make Canada fin-free as well.
Yeah. And right at the grassroots level of politics, at the local level, that's where this decision is going to be made that really has all kinds of international implications, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm just some guy from Scarborough who ran and got elected to city council because I wanted to make a difference. And this is one way that I can. So I encourage people, go on the internet, go to Shark Water, go to Shark Saver, go to Shark Truth, just Google shark finning, educate yourself, but most importantly, take political action. Most politicians, I mean, look at me, I'm a pretty nice guy. Call us up, we'll actually,
you're a pretty nice guy.
We actually return your phone calls, we'll talk to you. It's important to exercise your right to speak. All around the world, we're seeing these uprisings where people aren't allowed to speak, they don't get to elect their governments. We're allowed to elect governments and nobody even goes to vote sometimes. So get up, call,
that's
email,
how you get
encourage.
Interested in politics at any level, by getting involved in some of these issues that are important to you, right?
Yep. We're going to win this in Toronto, we'll win it across Canada, and I hope we'll win it around the world. And sharks everywhere will thank us. Maybe someday when they swim up to us, instead of giving us a little bite, they'll just wave and move along.
All right, well, check with Julie on that. She might know what shark language would represent a thank you.
I feel like a shark is going to go like this to us and be very happy about it.
Thank you very much, all of you. That's it for tonight. Tomorrow night, TTC customer service once again. We're talking about that, so join us for that discussion.